All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Blindside Blitz. I am Jim McFee. Of course, right there is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, you maniacs out there for football? Welcome to Blindside Blitz, and we are brought to you by Grumblings Media. And if you want to further support the show or others like it, head over to Grumblings Media channel right now. Hit that subscribe button for us. Hit the thumbs up on there as well. Don't forget to share it to your friends and family members. It's absolutely free. And if you want to further support the show, just send Jim an email. Say how much you love him.
I'll give you my Venmo. Support the show. All right, Joe. Oh man, I have mixed emotions right now, Joe. You know, everything that has transpired within the last couple of hours, it's kind of thrown me
Jim,
for a loop.
you got to explain to me from a Giants perspective, because you're a big Giants fan. Obviously, everybody can see it. As a fan, not as a person where we cover the teams, but as a fan, what was your initial reaction to the news that you not only have signed Jameis Winston, but also you now have signed Russell Wilson?
Oh man, again, I said it on the show, I think a week or two ago. I said, for me, I'm not sitting around for the Aaron Rodgers deal. We argued even, I think, the fact that who I thought might have even been better at this point, Kirk Cousins or Russell Wilson or something, I think was about it last week. I'm not sold on Russell Wilson. I don't want Russell Wilson. So I was like, I would rather they had Jameis Winston in the building at that point. And I was like, I'd rather them sign him at this point. And whether it means that this regime was going to move on and we were going to suck and then these guys get fired, it is what it is. That's better for me, I think, as a Giants fan, because of what these guys have done to this team so far, which is basically not a whole lot of anything. I think this is what I think the better plan for me, because again, it's not a strong quarterback class. I get it. Do we want to invest a high pick on one of these quarterbacks, early and may not turn out even again, and we're in quarterback purgatory again? Or, again, just not have a great record or do whatever we can to compete and look for the future, whether that being with this same coach or GM or not, I don't know. But, I've been dealing with this since 2012 or so, since the last time the Giants won in 2011. So a good decade or so even. And so I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to just, build for the future. Let's see what we have. And whatever, not Russell Wilson, but Jameis Winston, again, he's kind of trying to turn his life around. I like the inspirational speeches he has. He hasn't eaten many W's in a while, so maybe he's on the road to recovery.
He's grown up.
So I mean, that's fine, and I'm fine with that with Tommy DeVito. And then maybe if you do grab quarterback, whatever. But now with Russell Wilson, you just loaded up your quarterback room. So okay, that tells me now that, all right, they're going to go Russell Wilson. They need to try and win now. So they're going to try and grab Russell Wilson to be that quarterback to get them some victories here. They're hoping that he can potentially move around the pocket, I guess, and make some plays here, because again, that offensive line hasn't been very good, and Andrew Thomas has been banged up as of late too as well. But what kind of Russell Wilson are we gonna get, though? I mean, towards the end of the season, I wasn't that impressed with him, and even after him taking over in Week 7 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think he had 2,482 yards, 15 touchdowns, with five touchdowns. Oh, no, 16 touchdowns. That was right. All right. So, but and 5 interceptions. So I mean, which shows okay, but I can see a difference in Russell Wilson and then when he was back his Seattle days and things like that. And he's been less mobile, what made him special. And Chris Collinsworth always kind of defending him on the broadcast. We're like, whoa, he's still got that moon ball, you can throw up there, and you got to watch out for that. I don't think he's going to have time for the Giants to throw up that moon ball and get deep yardage, because he hasn't been able to spread the ball around and to make some plays like he used to be able to. So I'm not sold on Russell Wilson.
I know you're not sold on Russell Wilson, but I think this is a good move. I think for the Giants, like for a 1-year deal, which is what the Giants are hoping they can get something out of Russell Wilson, which I think they will. They got a guy who's been there, done that. They got a guy who knows how to run an offense, who knows how to run the huddle, who can execute, when given the opportunity. And we saw the difference that he made in Pittsburgh when Fields, even though Fields had a winning record, when Russell Wilson was ready to go and entered that on the football field for the Steelers, the offense opened up. It wasn't just a heavy run schemed because Fields is back there. We gotta do run options and kind of come up with some kind of creative ways to get guys open so he can make the throws. It was like, oh, let's run a legitimate offense and where we can spread the ball around, we can hand the ball off like we like to Najee Harris. And it was like night and day in terms of what they were able to do. And as you know, like to your point, like yeah, down the stretch he did struggle, but a lot of people you can nitpick that team because it wasn't a healthy offensive line. They were banged up. They were missing guys out of the lineup. So there was definitely gaping holes that where pressure was being let in very easily, and which forced Russell Wilson to throw it too early or try to get out of the pocket and just couldn't do it. So
Mhm.
things change in the NFL week to week, game to game and all that. So I think this is a move where by adding Russell Wilson to the Giants and Jameis Winston, this is a quarterback competition for this year between the two, and most likely Russell Wilson will win the job. And it doesn't pressure the Giants to now picking at 3 and saying we're desperate. We need to take one of these quarterbacks if Shador or Cam happen to fall to them, which doesn't seem likely now, that we're going to take one, or now we're pressured like maybe we consider trading back and taking a third quarterback or a fourth ranked quarterback. Not going to be really our guy, but we got to take one. So this does these two moves alone, I feel are very huge for the New York Giants right now because now you're going into the draft a little less pressure. Now you can be a little bit more freer to take the best player available, whether
Right.
that be Travis Hunter that falls to you, or if somehow Abdul Carter's there, like you could still take him. Now it allows them to kind of, proceed towards the draft and do their due diligence on other position groups, on guys. Now they can kind of game plan in a sense, like, okay, well, we don't need to take quarterback now. We are They'll probably still take one to develop and work with, whether that be the second or third round. We'll see. Um, because your vets are pretty much just there to fill a seat. That's really it. They're there also to, if they show enough promise on the offensive side of the ball, Brian Dayball and Joel Shane might exactly save their jobs after this year. That will give them another year or so to kind of reset and continue to build this roster because when they first came in, I got to admit, they had nothing. Like the
Mm.
offensive line was putrid. There was no receivers. The quarterback was in question from the fans, from the front office with Daniel Jones. So realistically, they didn't have much to work with on offense, but on defense, there was some sprinkles of talent that they could build that defense up, and they have done so. So I feel like this is a good move. I know some fans out there are probably disgruntled about this or upset, but I feel like, listen, the Giants have a plan to upgrade their offensive line. This is a very deep draft for offensive linemen. So there is a game plan, just like every other team has one. And I think the Giants are going to approach the draft to help build this team up offensively and defensively.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I will agree on though after making this deal again, and it's fairly friendly. Again, you're only guaranteeing them a 10.5 million bucks. And this does open that up for the draft again, because that's the one thing I wasn't sure about with the Giants. Were they going to grab one of these quarterbacks? Were they going to be gone already? And then what do they do, or whatnot, or what's the case? Are we in purgatory? So now this does set them up. So, like you said, Abdul Carter possibly there. I think Travis Hunter would be a great pick for them because his ability to play defense and offense, it's a great tool for offense for to have, let's say, Russell Wilson out there or Jameis Winston where you've got Neighbors and him side by side, and you've also got Slayton there as well, Wandale Robinson, but then also filling him in, possibly on defense as well, though. So I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
think you can
don't
play
see
around with
Travis
him.
Hunter's not playing both sides of the ball like
Well, I'm not
full
saying
time.
even full time. No, no, that's what
No.
I'm saying. That's what I'm
And
saying.
something I want to touch on too about
Hmm.
Travis Hunter too is the fact that if he's coming into it depends on the team, I feel like. If he's going to the Giants, he's playing wide receiver. He's going to be an electric wide receiver for them, team him up with Malik Neighbors, and let's go. If you want to add him as a corner, you can have him as a full-time corner. He can develop in that position and become great at that as well, with the option of some reps, say like 20 reps on the offensive side where you can have him in different packages and to at least help the offense out. But I think his best route in the NFL is to pick one side and concentrate on that one side of getting better. Because we've never seen an athlete like Travis Hunter before that can do both sides of the football and at an extremely high level in college.
Hmm.
We've never seen that before. So just imagine how much greater this kid could get if he just focused and honed in on one side because he can get better at either one. So for me, if you're taking Travis Hunter, you got to make a decision. Do you want him to be the next really good to great wide receiver for you? Or do you want him to be one of the next top 5 corners for your organization?
Yeah, I see, Joe. Yeah, I know. And we'll find out too when we start talking draft in a few weeks here too. It's coming up quick. But there you go. That's the news with the Giants. It just dropped a few hours ago. So I have
Yeah,
mixed emotions, but you know what?
right.
Maybe next year or this off season when camps start after the draft and stuff like that, and I start
Yeah,
to see this team take form. That's when I'll probably get a little more excited and get to see some of this.
gotcha.
But we'll see. Again, that's the exciting part about the draft, and you get to see now the team as a whole
Mhm.
after this spending. Now these guys, I think the Giants are like top 5 in spending now in free agency right now. Vikings there at number 1, Patriots too as well. They're sitting there at number 2. So it's interesting to see what happens when they're spending this money in free agency to try and get back to where they need to do and what they end up doing with the picks that they have. There's also
Yeah,
rumors that the Giants even too. Um,
right.
Potentially could trade back into the first too after this one. So,
That's
which they
that's
have done
definitely
before
another
too.
possibility for sure. Blitz Nation, want to hear from you guys too. Drop down in the comments below what you guys think about the Giants signing not one, but 2 quarterbacks and Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. And see how you guys feel about it. Giants fans, we know you're out there. We want to hear you guys. Let us know. Amongst the other move that happened today, Stefon Diggs signing a deal. I
Right.
mean, wait, hold on a second. I'm sorry, but Stefon Diggs, and I get it, coming off a ACL injury at you're plus 30 at this point, 32 or 33 years old. I had a hard time when I saw this deal, and I'm like, wow, 3 years, 69 million, 26 million guaranteed for an older vet coming back from an ACL injury. They're saying that he's going to be ready to go week 1. And that's all well and good, but Patriots. I mean, Jim, you mentioned before we even started the show that like
Hmm.
technically it's a 1 year deal. They can get out of it
Right.
after 1 year. The money is front loaded
Hmm.
rather than spread out or back loaded. So I guess that's kind of like the thing where like if he doesn't pan out, they can still get out from the contract and move on.
Hmm.
So that makes sense the way they structured it. But Jesus, I still can't believe the amount of money that they are guaranteeing this guy. You know, being
Right.
an older wide receiver, being a guy who, don't get me wrong, I think he was absolutely electric in his prime, still
Hmm.
is good, but kind of like Devontae Adams, where I tend to think that with this injury now, maybe he loses a step being on the wrong side of 30. And I'm not so sure we're going to see the same explosion anymore from Stefon Diggs. I think he's still going to be quick. He's still going to have some speed, but man, I have my doubts about this. And you're also bringing in a guy by other teams, viewpoints on him personally, saying the guy's a
Mhm.
cancer in the locker room.
Mhm.
So like, and you have a
Mhm.
young quarterback in Drake May. Is this really the right marriage, at least for 1 year, that you want when Drake May is still developing, still getting better, had a tremendous rookie year, but now I just hope for Patriots fans that this isn't going to come back to bite them, this kind type of move. Um, but I gotta say, like, I was kind of surprised with the amount of money that Diggs got from the Patriots, even front loaded.
Right, and that's the thing. We talked about them being one of the most active in free agency right now, and they've made a lot of great signings so far. So I think they've been doing well at up to this point in spending and grabbing key parts for this team to help build it around their franchise quarterback. And the one thing that they have not had though is that number one. So I think they were kind of looking at maybe we can get Stefon Diggs in here. He's a true number one. He's got some moves, but like you said, though, for the money, though, there's other talent out there
It's
too. You probably could have got cheaper that would have helped out.
it's a good year in the draft this year too. Like, you could have got
Mhm,
your number one this year and
mhm,
possibly in the second round
mhm.
because it's so deep with wide receiver talent. It's whatever your flavor is. And I
Right.
think you could honestly get a really good starter slash X receiver on the outside, a guy that can be your number one in the second round. That's how deep this is. So we're not going to see seven like we did the previous draft, where you're going to have seven wide receivers go in the first round. I think a lot of those guys are going to be pushed down because of the other talent that is starting to move up draft boards. So edge rushers, I
Yeah.
feel like is going to be a lot of them getting taken in the first round. So
Yeah. And
I
you
just
you
I
you
kind of
brought up the
question this
point.
move
Mhm.
because bringing in the older wide receiver when
Yeah.
don't you want to get a younger guy who can grow with Drake May? That to me
Mhm.
made more sense. So
Right.
for them to make this move, I get it. It's technically a 1 year deal if they want to get out of out of the
Right.
contract, but uh
Right, and it kinda almost attests to the way, like, you
bothers
you
me.
talked about Stefon Diggs, though. Again, the way he acts, a cancer in the locker room, the way he's been public about, again, "Oh, I don't get the ball enough." So,
Look at how many
and wi
teams he's been on.
and look yeah, and look at the contract that he goes for here too now. So it's obviously, he's like whatever, he wasn't budging on money, whether people are talking to him or
Mhm.
not, or if there wasn't even any, uh
Right.
interest or not. So he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'll take the highest number. These guys got this. Okay, sure, I'll take
Yeah.
that or whatever." Um,
Yeah.
and you could see it here because I thought for sure Stefon Diggs being out there in his age, like you said, and now coming off of an injury, that he always says to me, "Oh, I'm looking to latch on to a winner right now. I'll take veteran minimal or something,
Right.
and or a prove it deal, and let's go win a chip somewhere. Let's go,
Right.
to Kansas City. Let's go to Baltimore. Let's go somewhere. You know what I mean?
Hop on
Uh,
Philadelphia
hop
Eagles
on, yeah,
coattails.
right somewhere. And then that he landed in New England. It really surprised me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and again, it's just he settled for the money. So obviously,
What it
that's what
seems
he
like,
wants.
right?
That's what he wants. So,
That's it.
like I said, I think it's kind of a good idea again too. So you do have that guy there, but
Right.
it's for me, it's just a little pricey, like you said too, for a basic loaner. I think
Right.
now.
Yeah.
But like you said, I would love to have another younger guy to work with Drake May, and they still potentially can in the draft though too. So
I mean, you still can.
yeah.
I mean, but it seems like they've now with adding Stefon Diggs to that roster, they've kind of solidified the wide receiver depth
Mm-hmm.
anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They have a couple of guys that they really like that they drafted before. Um, they've added a couple more guys. Now you have Stefon Diggs kind of filling that role. I think there's like
Yeah.
five solid wide receivers. You know, um,
They added Matt Collins too, who did pretty good in
Matt
Buffalo too
Collins,
as well.
who I think is going to do well with them.
Mm-hmm.
So like I feel like they're comfortable now. where going into the draft now, they're like, okay, well, we were desperate for a receiver before. Now it's like, okay, now again, we're taking the pressure off, as
Mhm.
we get to the draft of those desperation moves or needs that a team might have. And now they're going to basically play the best player available card, so they're
Mhm.
going to wait to see at 4 to see who falls to them.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely, Joe. So there you go. There's two more free agents off the board.
Off the board.
Still, yeah, still, it's out there again. Aaron Rodgers potentially to the Steelers, but it's still lingering. Joe, did you happen to watch any of the Aaron Rodgers Enigma on Netflix at all yet?
No.
No, I started to
No.
watch it, and I think it's really interesting. And I think you get a cool like dive into like the other side of Aaron Rodgers, kind of, and it's behind the scenes,
More
and it
personal.
yeah, and it kind of takes place. It tells his background, but then also what happened the season prior to where he got injured and tore his ACL. So you get to see a lot of that stuff, what was going on in the locker room, back and forth, and with him and rehab and stuff. And I think it's an interesting watch. There's 3 episodes. They're over an hour or something long. It's crazy, but
Nice.
I think it'll shed some light because again, you're so used to listening to what media is
Me.
telling you or
Yeah.
whatever, what you kind of see from the outside. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, he's kind of a douche. He's doing this. He's not doing that. Um, and then you get to hear from him or even see by his actions. So I think after this, and I watch it, I'm going to see if I have a different outlook of him. Like it almost happened when I watched the quarterback show with Kirk Cousins and some other guys. So
That's
um,
a that's
so
that's
I think
a
it'll be
big
interesting.
deal too. We only
Hmm.
see as fans, you only see what the media shows you of the player. Like
Right.
like Stefon Diggs. We just
And the
got done
talking
talking about
heads and what
Stefon
they
Diggs
say.
and
Hmm.
about how much he's a cancer in the locker room, but that's just stuff that we're hearing. That
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean he is. Like, we only get that information that's given to us. So
Right.
if we got to know Stefon Diggs, maybe we're like, dude, this guy's not a cancer. Like, what is this media spinning here? Like, are they just spinning it because he goes from team to team to
Right.
team in the last year? Like,
Hmm.
or is there some relevance to it? So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, when they have these specials, um, these differing shows about maybe the player's lifestyle or where they came from and
Hmm.
how they got to where they are now. Like those stories are really cool and it almost it leaves the player to be a little bit more vulnerable knowing that the public is going to see me more of my person, like who I
Right.
actually am.
Right.
Uh and it brings a light to you based on the information that you get from that. So, like, just like you mentioned with Rogers, like, you're starting to learn a little bit more about what exactly happened, how it happened, how did that make Rogers feel, you
Hmm.
know, what was his mindset at the time. So,
Yeah,
I
and
think
people don't get
that
to hear that until you get
it's
to talk
very
to the
cool.
person, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because I mean, without
yeah,
spoiling, some stuff, I mean,
right.
you see, even at a young age, he was like, you know, so he was watching the Super Bowl, Joe Montana come back and win the Super Bowl against the Cincinnati Bengals, and he saw how his family and people watching the show reacted to that
Mhm.
person, and he's like, I want that. I want that. If these people are in love with this guy, this, and what he's doing and what he did, I think that's amazing. And then so he kind of geared all towards that and has dedicated his life to it. You know what I mean? And become an NFL
Right.
player and all that. So from on, and then after he wins the Super Bowl, he has a revelation. And it's pretty interesting. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything in case you decide to watch it, but I think you should try
Cliffhanger
watching it
right there. Cliffhanger.
because I think that is what makes them human that people don't realize and think about it with people. It's like, I can see that. I'm like, oh wow, okay. I never thought of it that way. You know what I mean? Because some people they win the Super Bowl and they're like, oh yeah, that's great. This is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me before. I've lived it. I've done it. I don't even need to do anything else, right? It's great.
Right.
And then some people are like, oh, I want to win another one. Win another. So I think it would be interesting if you checked it out and
Yeah.
stuff like
Like,
that too, and see
you
what you
know,
thought of it because you definitely
right.
did get a different point of view
We
than
also
what you
got,
do.
season 2 of The Quarterback coming up, like we mentioned on
Mhm.
Netflix. So that's also an awesome show for all you football maniacs out there. Make sure you try to get if you have Netflix, great. Tune into it. It's awesome because it follows the players that they've selected from last season. Obviously, they can't do it this season. So,
Mm,
but
mhm.
you get to know like all the little behind the scenes conversations a little bit, some of their personal life. They share how they go about their day. So it really kind of opens up, the world behind them and what
Right.
they go through and everything. Because I'll tell you right now, I never realized with some of these athletes how much they how much they spend and how much extra they do to kind of recover their bodies week to week.
Yeah. Oh my
Like,
gosh.
I
Yeah.
mean, it goes from anything from dieting to being in a hyperbaric chamber for like an hour to
Yeah.
taking ice baths to
Mhm.
getting massages, everything. Like it's insane the amount of
Mhm.
self-care that they have to do to kind of be ready to go every single week. And it's a long season. Takes a toll
Mhm.
on them.
Absolutely, Joe. So we talked about a couple of the guys that just came off the board, like we said, signing some deals. And that
Right.
leads us to under the radar free agents that are still there. We know the top ones. Everybody puts those, these are my top, free agents left available, blah, 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 blah. But we want to talk about some
Yeah.
of these guys that are out there that, again, we're wondering why they're still out there too, and what
Right.
potential teams they could go to. Um, and it's a good value if somebody goes and grabs some of these guys. So we're going to
Yeah,
list
I'm I'm
a
kind
few off here.
I'm kind of surprised that the Patriots signed Diggs and not Amari
Mhm,
Cooper. Um,
mhm,
Amari Cooper, I feel like would have been an excellent fit in the locker room, a guy that would have definitely been their number one receiver. And this guy has done it. Like, if you look, he's only 31 years old, so he just 1 year past that 30 mark, like we talk about.
mhm.
He's a little younger than Diggs, a guy who wasn't really a big part in the Bills' offense this past season. And, we're talking about a guy who just recently in 23 had 1,250, receiving yards. You know, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just don't understand how, a guy like this who is still out there. And honestly, I haven't heard anything about Amari Cooper's name being brought up to go
Mhm,
to any team. Haven't heard about him going on a visit. Haven't heard anything. So I'm kind of surprised by it. And I think that, now that Diggs kind of signed the deal that he did, Mari Cooper, maybe it opens things up, maybe it opens up talks, or maybe even teams are waiting till after the draft. If they don't get their guy in the draft, they can always return to see if maybe Cooper's still there or not, and maybe sign him then.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. They got Elijah Moore still out there too. So I mean, if that potentially they could grab somebody like that too. He's still young too. I know he hasn't really produced a lot
In his
out there.
prime.
But yeah, he's still young. You want to talk about being able to grow with a quarterback like Drake May? I think he might be a good fit too, even for like New England. I mean, that would have been a great option for him too as well. Because
Yeah.
again, he wanted to move out of the Jets, thought he could do something more, and it still hasn't really done much. But behind some of these other guys here, and now at Cleveland and now a free agent, hasn't been able to really shine, but has been had quarterback issues. He had Zach Wilson before, and then what's been a turnstile in in Cleveland and everything hasn't really worked out for him. So again, if he had a true quarterback, who knows, that potentially gave him a shot, he can maybe make a number two, on someone's roster. Um,
Right. Right.
what's another one out there you think? I have one in
Um,
my pocket, but go ahead.
this is okay. So this one is a little perplexing to me because
Mm-hmm.
he signed a 1-year deal last year with the Chargers and J.K. Dobbins. You
Mm-hmm.
know, a guy that nobody wanted to give him a chance because obviously he just continually, since his rookie year, just got hurt, injury after injury after injury, missing seasons, not just a few
Mm-hmm.
games, missing seasons to the point where the Chargers was like, all right, you know what? We'll just sign this guy for cheap last year and we'll see. He stayed healthy all year and played a very pivotal part in that Chargers running game and getting them some wins. That I mean, he had some explosive plays where he would just go for 60 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, "Oh, this is the J.K. Dobbins we've been waiting for. This is a guy who's stayed healthy, had a very successful year and killed it." I mean, damn near came close to, I mean, just a hair before double-digit touchdowns for the season with
Hmm.
9. So,
Hmm.
um, I'm kind of surprised. I gotta say, like, I can't believe J.K. Dobbins having a successful season, being able to show the league that, you know, I can stay healthy. And now that he is healthy, still, he's out there in free agency. The Chargers didn't even bring him back.
Hmm.
So I'm a little perplexed on that one.
Right. Right. Yeah. And yeah. He could have went to a few different teams too. I feel, and been an easy contributor.
Oh yeah.
Um, Again, the Cowboys even going in with Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, I mean, I think J.K. Dobbins would have been a nice matchup there too, and did like a 1-2 punch there
Mhm.
instead of Sanders, so that could have been an option for them. So
Right.
I think it's crazy that he's still out there right now. We've got, hey Joe, we've got a know-it-all visiting us tonight here on the Blindside Blitz. It's our man Mike
Really?
Tackett.
You
Boom!
don't say.
Holy moly! Look at that.
Whoa,
All right. So he says,
Mr. Mike
Jameis,
Tackett.
Russ, and a rookie quarterback. Does New York Giants have the worst quarterback room in the league? That's upsetting. That's hurtful. What
No,
about the Titans? You know what I
no, they
mean?
don't.
I mean, yeah. So, yeah. So, no, yes, that's right. I don't think they do. And again, I was upset about this signing here. But again, I can potentially see a good side. You know what I mean? To this whole situation. Again, like you said, that leaves it open at number 3. Now they could do whatever. And then now, maybe they don't go quarterback, things like that's what I mean. So I mean, they could do whatever they want here. Um,
Right.
and that could potentially lead to teams maybe want to trade up or whatever or whatnot, or they trade down, to do whatever. So I mean, that leads to some options here, and I like options. All right, here Mike Tackett. What else does he say here? He says Dobbins was a beast at OSU. Yeah, okay, whatever, Mike. Because I think he just needed to get over those damn injuries. Yeah, exactly. That's why he's been that injury prone type of guy. He goes, I could see his getting picked up after the draft or after Labor Day to fill a team's depth. Yeah, I mean that would be great, and that's why we're talking about under the radar, like underrated. Like if he's hanging out there, he's going to be a great add after the draft to a team that you're like, wow, okay, he was still out there. Oh man, that fills their spot now. I mean, that's good. And I think that could be a spot here too as well. I mean, hey, if Giants have some leftover money too, I mean, why not throw him out there, on the side with him with Tracy, you know what I mean? So Tyrone Tracy, J.K. Dobbins a little bit. That sounds good to me
Yep.
too. Why not? Let's do this. You know what I mean? So again, so he's sharing carries. So I have to worry about getting injured, things like that. Um, I think speaking of the Chargers again, what comes to mind to me is like Asante Samuel. I mean, yeah, he got hit with the injury bug too as well, but his first couple seasons he was playing well here, and now he's a free agent, still young. And I think again, he's looking to have a bounce back season. I think he's one of those players that whatever team he goes to, he's gonna be like not comeback player of the year, but defensive comeback player of the year. That's what I'm saying. He could bring his playing back to what he was the first 2 seasons. And for a team like I don't know, I was looking at some teams that might need some corner depth. Easy off
There's
the
a bunch
top
of
of
them.
the yeah, off the top of my head, maybe even Panthers on the other side of JC Horn, possibly, or something like that. That might be a cool 1-2 punch for them. But anybody
I
could
think they're
use him
going
at
in the
this point, though,
draft.
too. So,
I feel like um a lot of teams are only one corner away from solidifying that position. I feel like they're all going to be going into the draft and taking a corner at some point to kind of solidify it. For
mhm,
teams that are in need of more than one, those are the type of teams that I think really need to get on the horn right now and call Asante's agent up and say, hey, listen, what are you guys really looking for in terms of
yeah,
contract? Because
mhm,
we want to bring him in. We like him. We think he'd fit great in our defense, but we're not gonna overpay for you to come. So, you know, let's make this deal happen. Let's get this thing right. And I think that's kind of I'm surprised too, Jim, that he's still available because of the player in itself and the fact that he's still in his prime. normally guys that are in their prime and have had success, in the league, normally they'll always get chances. They'll always get chances to come to another team, make the squad, maybe possibly start. So I'm actually really surprised that he is available still as we approach the draft.
hmm Under the radar players, we're talking about it. Mike Tackey, you're out there. Anybody out there in the comments? Light us up in the comments. Let us know that you think that might be still a free agent out there, who you think is kind of floating out there, and you're kind of surprised they haven't found a team right now, and they're kind of under that radar or underrated at this point. Joe, somebody out there too, you kind of feel like is kind of
Um,
out there still, and you're kind of scratching your head a little bit, or
if any team needs help at tight end, I think Tyler Conklin is a guy that his name kind of gets forgotten. Like whenever he's available, I mean, Tyler Conklin was a pretty good player for the Jets. And I know you're like, oh, the Jets didn't do anything. Well, Tyler Conklin, like he can do a lot of things well for you. Like he can block for you, he can go out for passes. We've seen him make some really big catches for them to get first downs. So
Mhm.
I know Aaron Rodgers enjoyed throwing the ball to him. So he's another guy that I feel like he kind of goes, at least from what I remember, he kind of goes team to team, but I'm surprised that this guy doesn't like land a spot and stay there because he at least very good depth if you're just looking for a backup, but
Mhm.
also he could start for a team because we've s- I mean we've seen him just kind of ball out in certain games. So Tyler Conklin would be another guy that I'm surprised it is still not signed yet.
Yeah, yeah, Joe. I mean, I could see that too as well. Um, I mean, again, you're looking at some veterans that are out there too. So I think maybe Emmanuel Agba. He's 31 right now, but he had some good years with the Dolphins. Um, Potentially he could go as just a side piece for one of these teams that just needs some extra depth somewhere. That might be an option for somebody. Again, on the low rate, you're not spending a whole lot on a guy like that,
Yeah,
and I think he can still kind of produce for you. Um,
yeah. At this point in free agency, you should be able to get some really good deals done with guys that either were former starters or guys that are in their prime and maybe have not had a chance to show what they can do or had limited success and maybe you want to give them an opportunity. Um, but I feel like at this point, like if you're a team that needs depth, that needs players now to at least compete for the starting job, go and get these guys. Go and get them. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but at least get them on the roster, get them on the practice field. When we start to do OTAs and you start to get into training camp, at least fill your roster up as much as you can and bring in all the competition for every single position. We all know that some teams have superstars and you know that they're never going to get, beaten out for a starting job, but still you'd like to have depth behind them in case something happens. Whether they go down with an injury, they're not going to be around for the rest of the season. They're going to miss 4 games, whatever. You at least have somebody capable and comparable that can come in and at least alleviate the loss there. So, I mean,
mhm.
there's another guy that I'm kind of surprised also isn't signed is Jedrick Wills, the offensive tackle, who's just close to 26 years old, still in his prime. He had a down year last year, and I don't think I don't think that's a reason why people should not be touching this guy. The guy he was a really good offensive tackle when he first got to Cleveland, and then you had the whole musical chairs with the offensive line. Guys were getting injured. I gotta say, I'm kind of surprised that Jedrick Wills hasn't gotten a contract offer, hasn't been brought in by a team that may need a tackle or wants to give him an opportunity. Guy is still in his prime. Like it baffles me that at this point in free agency, he's another candidate that is just sitting out there waiting for an opportunity here.
Mhm. Mhm. Anybody else on your mind right here? Do you think that potentially again is one of these under the radar type of guys?
Julian Blackman, safety from the Colts. We know that recently the Panthers, I think, have brought him in for a visit. Um, if they lock him up, I think it's a steal at this point. I mean, the guy's still
Mhm.
in his prime at 26 years old. Was a very good player for the Colts, and kind of like the unsung hero on the back end of that defense. That quietly, very quietly, had a great season. Had an injury, but I tell you, like, I'm surprised. There's some guys out there. There's not a lot of them, but there's a few of them that are still in their prime, or at least maybe close to towards the end of their prime. But guys that could really help a team, a roster, maybe even for like the short term, like 2 3 years, that you could bring in and alleviate that pressure of trying to replace somebody. So I'm s
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that some of these guys, and it's a laundry list, ladies and gentlemen. Like,
Mhm.
there's so much talent still that you could bring in, whether it be depth or as a starter.
Mhm. Yeah, we got Mike Tackett in the house.
We
He's
talk,
he's doing
but
he's
you'll
doing like a
see on
laundry list of things right now. It seems like he's like listing
you'll
the whole
see you'll
top
see
guys right
other
now.
yeah, you'll see other media outlets and everything
Yeah.
constantly say how deep this draft is, and they're right.
Yeah.
But you also, on the other side of it, have free agents that it's also deep with free agents to kind of help bolster your roster or improve it at least.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's uncanny that the some of the names that are available. Some guys are a little older, that's why they're still on the list.
Yeah, yeah.
But you think
What's
about
the
an injury in training camp, you could
Mhm.
go dive into
Mhm.
it, bring someone out, you know. But
Yeah. Eh,
honestly, some of these under the radar type of free agents that are still around, just waiting for a phone call. uh, I'm kind of surprised that they haven't gotten them yet and haven't been at least offered a contract.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, a lot of these guys, even the older veterans, see them to fill rosters out after the draft, I think. Like your guys like Mike even brings up like Calais Campbell. Um
The
older, but
guy
he
that
was still
found a fountain of
productive.
youth.
Like, yeah, he's like productive nonstop and he's out there again. So I think he's gonna be that perfect guy that just is kind of like fills that need after the draft and like jump onto a team and still produce. I
Dude,
think Zadarius Smith is an interesting one too, as well, just hot off of play with the Detroit Lions.
Calais Campbell is
Mhm.
38 years old, everybody.
Yeah, no, you
And
don't even know it, right?
this is he's had
Uh,
17 seasons in the NFL. He still plays at a high level, and his average uh contract, this is on Spotrac. They have
mhm,
his average contract per year at $2 million
mhm.
because of the age,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
knowing what's going to happen this upcoming year. But
yeah.
man, give me Calais Campbell
Yeah,
for $2
it's
million,
value.
dollars, please.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yo, put him right next to,
A one
Dexter
year
Lawrence
it's
out there,
And
something,
he
that'd
only
be crazy.
wants a 1 year deal. Why
Yep,
not
yeah.
just do it?
Yep. Yep, yep, absolutely. So, Joe, yeah, I mean, we could go with a laundry list of guys. I know Mike Tackett started to list them out there too. Keenan Allen's out there again. I mean, that's a veteran too. You could probably get on the cheap, uh,
See,
and not pay like what you could have even like to Stefon Diggs. Like, what do you think about Keenan Allen to the Patriots instead?
I don't think Keenan Allen is the number 1 anymore.
Hmm.
I think Keenan Allen is a slot receiver, and that's where he's gonna have to live until he retires, and it's gonna be very soon. That's the other part of it, is that, he's approaching mid-30s, I believe, like 34 years old, around there, and, uh, he's productive. Like, he had 70 catches last year. He had just over 700 yards receiving as a slot receiver. He had a decent year, but, unless you could bring him in on the cheap.
Hmm.
I if it's anything like Stefon Diggs or even come close, like 15 million a year, I'm sorry, I'm out. I don't
Hmm.
want Allen then. I'd rather draft somebody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get it there. All right, so Joe, there you go. Under the radar free agents, there's a bunch of them out there. Mike Tackett with some out there. Keep them coming too in the comments. We love the comments out there. Shout out to everybody,
Definitely.
and our know-it-alls who followed us along here from our other show that we have, Football on the No Show. We appreciate you guys joining
Amazing.
in with us too as well. And here it is. Welcome to the Blindside Blitz. We're on Grumblings Media. You can find us here on their YouTube page. Just search Grumblings Media, or we made it easy. Right there's a QR code. Just scan the code, dude. It's right there. Hit a subscribe here. We're up to like 7,000 something, subscribers on here on YouTube. So we're doing a great job here. We appreciate you guys joining us. Joe, again, we hear about the owners' meetings, spring meetings, and now here we go talking about rule changes and certain teams that let's bring this one up, let's get rid of this, let's get rid of that, let's change this. And it's always even down to the damn kicking game, Joe. And to where I am just fed up with this whole goddamn thing, man. Joe, Jesus, because it's like every year, hey, let's try this. Oh, that doesn't work. It's a 1-year trial. Oh, let's do this again and try this again. Oh, 1 year, let's do it again. Let's try something else. And it gets worse and worse and worse to where you got to just say, what was wrong with it before? Let's just change it back to what it was. I mean, were injuries that big of a deal? I'm like, I have to search it right now, but I really don't think that was the most injured play of the game ever in an NFL game when players are constantly hitting each other for, 55 minutes out of the 60 minutes in the game or whatever, in the trenches, not just on kickoffs. That's the dangerous play that was killing everybody. You know what I'm saying? So the fact now that they're moving the ball up further. So now there is no what if, there is no drive, hell, where's the game-winning drive that you get from, I talked about Joe Montana driving the ball down. We talk about Eli Manning in the Super Bowl driving the ball against the Patriots to win the game. What is there when you get the ball at the 35, Joe? That's not a drive. It's a hop, skip, and a jump, and you're over there.
That's how it's always been for at least this past season. But the thing is what they're trying to do is they're trying to move the kickoff point back farther to where now it makes it even harder for kickers to kick it out of the end zone. They want that return to happen. But the crazy thing is nobody's excited anymore about the kickoff anymore. I know I don't look forward to it. And it's like, oh, the kickoff. Okay, who cares? It's going to be either kicked out of the end zone or it's going to be caught and they're going to get the ball at the 25, 30-yard line anyway. Like, it's not exciting. We've seen very few kickoffs that end up in returns for 6.
Mm-hmm.
And is it exciting? Yes, that part is exciting, but it's not going to happen as frequent, as it used to. When you had some of those prolific, kickoff returners, that would just kind of everybody tuned into the game to watch the kickoff because Devin Hester was getting the ball and you never knew what was going to happen. That was an exciting period of football when we actually had those kickoffs. Like college football still does it. College football still has the traditional kickoff method, and I'm sorry, but college football is more exciting, at least on kickoffs anyway, to kind of watch that whole game when you have, a score. Now you get to see the kickoff again. Not what this, condom wearing NFL has done lately, where they're just kind of being safe. They're protecting themselves. They want to make sure that, the players are okay on the field. They're not going to get as injured as they possibly could be. Well, newsflash, NFL, any given play, we've seen it we've seen it with DeMar Hamlin.
Mm-hmm.
Any given play, a guy can get hit a certain way, and it could be a catastrophic injury. It could be just a minor injury. But this is a violent sport. This is going to happen no matter what you do. So let's throw away this freaking stupid formation, new way of doing kickoffs and go back to what was exciting. Go back to the days of let's see, because we've even seen in the past where there's like 5 seconds on the clock. Doesn't happen a lot, but we've seen it. 5 seconds on the clock. The opposing team still has to kick off. They were in the lead. They just went up by 4 points, and they kick it off. And he's going past the 40, the 50, the 30, the 20 touchdown. the stadium erupts. Nobody saw
Joe
that
loses
coming.
his
Like
arms.
those things are epic. They're amazing to see and witness. Like
Mhm.
that's what I want to get back to. That's what made the kickoff so special. And any given kickoff, it could be returned. Now, the way
Yep.
you freaking are handling it now, it's like, well, you know, it's not exciting. You got guys that are literally 10 yards away from each other that are
Mhm.
going to block
Mhm.
or try to pursue the ball carrier,
Mhm.
and it's just it's pathetic. It really is.
Right, right. And like I said, the more they dabble with some of these things and change it, like the onside kick rule, the fact that now you got to tell everybody, hey, we're doing this, and you have to be down, in the fourth quarter or something too, and to
Oh yeah,
potentially
all the
do it. I
stipulations.
think it's dumb. It's like, why are we doing this again? Why what is the benefit of all this? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There is
yeah.
none. It just changes what was not broken. I understand with partially with the kickoffs where they limited, I think, concussions again by 48%, which is good. I understand that. That's a good thing. And partially some of that is to where they're lining up to now even to where, they have a smaller distance to run before impact and when they start now the line the way it is. But I just think when they keep trying to bring the ball up further and things like that, I think that just messes with it too much. But I mean, at least if they're trying to bring the kicker back, so there is kind of a return that helps a little bit. But like I said, if we got to keep resetting it every year,
But
then
that's the
something's wrong.
problem
Why
though,
do we got to
Jay.
keep doing a trial? It's like me signing up for Netflix or something like that for a 1 month trial every month, and it's like maybe it's going to change, maybe it's going to be different. Well, this isn't as good. The
But that's
ads,
the
no
pro
ads.
that's I mean, that's the problem though, is the fact that even if they move the kickoff back, it's still the same exact formation, same exact way to do a kickoff, just because you're gonna have more opportunities most likely to return, the end result's the same.
Hmm.
We're not getting more explosion or bigger returns, or we're more worried about, well, let's not have as high of a collision
Hmm.
between the tackler and the ball carrier. Like
Hmm.
that's really what this is about.
Right, right.
Like, but it happens play to play. It happens
Hmm.
game to game. We've seen these
Hmm.
high end collisions that absolutely destroy the offensive player, or even a defensive player not, seeing an offensive lineman coming a certain way and blindsides them. Like
Hmm.
we've seen these things happen. Like you're not going to be able to tame the sport of the NFL to make it safe all the time. It's
All the
just not
time.
happening.
Mhm.
So I understand what they're trying to do, but it's absolutely taking a negative effect in today's NFL, and it just needs to stop.
All right, Joe. I didn't get a chance to look at it all that, but what other rule changes? I know when we talked about this back when they had their meetings, a bunch of different ones that brought up the tush
There's a lot
push
of
as well as one
proposals.
of them stuff. So, what is on the docket here that they potentially could be moving towards?
So I mean, a lot of there's several. I'll say there's several proposals that were put in by varying teams,
Hmm.
and not
Hmm.
everybody puts in a proposal, but
Right,
one of
right.
which is we've kind of touched on this topic before, like as we were getting into the playoffs, but replay review. It sounds like the committee is looking to maybe expand the
Hmm.
replay review, and by doing so, it's going to be not for just everything or anything. It's going to be more like face mask penalties. You know what I mean? Where we've seen the Joe Burrow face
Yeah,
mask,
that's
you
the
know,
most famous one, I
his
guess, at
head
this point. Yes.
his head being contorted backwards. I mean, that was kind of crazy to not
Yeah.
throw a flag on that.
Right.
But
On a game-winning play or whatever, drive. It was
yeah,
right there. Mhm.
exactly. And then they haven't exactly listed in detail everything that they're going to be looking at in terms of
Mhm.
expanding this, replay assist, replay review, whatever.
Mhm.
But it sounds like they're going to basically choose a few difficult gray area type of calls and maybe make those reviewable.
A
Maybe
review.
it's pass interference,
Maybe.
that they're gonna maybe look into. Face mask penalties.
Mhm.
You know,
I think it's a good
whatever.
time for that right now because
Yeah,
out of changes, that was probably one of the changes I didn't mind as much this season. With the
but
where
here's
they
my
were like
problem with
all
it.
of a sudden, hey, all of a sudden we're going to change it because we got a call from New York or whatever. They're saying now this is the official
Mhm.
rule. Now let's change it. It was just fluid. It didn't stop. It wasn't a whole lot of this, even though the ref still got to just stop and debate on whether what is what, even on touchdowns or whatever. And
Mhm.
you're having a conversation, and we're still wondering what the hell is going on. They still did that for some reason. But at least when it went to a questionable call, and New York radioed in or the home base and changed it, I thought that was pretty fluid. And if they're going to do that with horse collar tackles or face mask, or I wish they
Right.
would do that with pass interference, I think that would be great because we saw what a mockery it was when they did try and penalize or try to make reviewable to look at pass interference, and they just didn't, or they just accepted it anyways. And now with the hip drop tackle, that was a big focus or whatever, but they didn't do it. They didn't call it
Can't
ever.
do anything.
So I think that this would be a good time for that, and I really don't mind it as much, at least with this one.
My only problem with it is that it's gonna be subjective because we've seen the replay assist. It was supposed to be expanded in the playoffs, but there was definitely notable plays that it wasn't used when it was supposed to be, and it just kinda disappeared. We never saw it, never popped
Mhm,
up.
mhm.
So
Well, I think
I
that's
I
interesting.
I
Go ahead.
kinda wonder about this, expansion of the review, but, like, is this gonna be just, you know, for certain plays only, like certain,
Mhm,
possible penalties or whatever that has transpired? Or is this gonna be a little bit more vaster to where it's gonna be able to kinda iron out those gray areas for referees? 'Cause it I don't think
mhm,
referees are mind this, actually. I think
mhm.
they would prefer better
An eye in the sky to
clarification,
help. Mhm,
better clarification of a review and say, "Okay, all right, well, we saw it this way, but it's actually that way. We're gonna get this fixed." Any extra help that the referees could get, I'm sure that they'd be welcoming of it. I mean, it's not a detriment on them. It actually helps them do their jobs better. So I kind of I'm curious to see what they're going to use it for, and if it's gonna only be for very specific situations.
mhm,
Because the replay assist was originally put in place because of maybe a penalty that should have been called. It could have assisted the official in making the right call, or the call that was made on the field. They could get it right and then move the game along. So
mhm.
I still got major questions about it. What all the details when they finally come out are going to end up being.
Right, and for me, I think if you're gonna do this though again, you gotta be able to do it for the Super Bowl as well. Because I find it interesting that when it comes down to the Super Bowl, that you don't ever see radio, replay assist ever come into play ever, really. I have seen even in recent history. Um, and a lot of times they just say, "Hey, we just let them play." You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
why is it in the most important game of the year you're just letting them play? But last season I thought was a really standout moment when we saw so many penalties thrown on either side. It wasn't even there was a lot towards the Chiefs, I think, and rightfully so. But then even the Philadelphia Eagles, they got penalized as well too. So it was interesting for me this season that so many penalty flags were flown, just because um, a lot of times they say, "Hey, we're just letting them play." There's a lot loosey goosey. And why are we doing that in a game that is the championship game where everything matters, when it's all on the line, and that we don't see replay assist maybe jump in and clarify some of these plays? So I think if they do expand it, I think again it can't just stop at the divisional or the championship game, and then like, all right, Super Bowl, it's whatever.
I think for the Super Bowl, I think they're right. they should let them play, but they should let all the teams play, all regular season, into the playoffs, into the
Yeah,
Super
do it the
Bowl. You should
same.
let
Yes.
teams play, but at the same time, if it is a blatant penalty,
Yeah.
then you call it.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm.
sometimes these receivers or cornerbacks are really sneaky at holding on to a jersey or pushing off a little bit. Like those things happen, right? But if it's so blatant, like that's the reason why he caught it, or that's the reason why the receiver dropped it, then you have to make those calls. You have to call them, and that's the problem in the circle of officiating for the NFL is that crew to crew, it's inconsistent. The same call that if they watch the same play, certain crews are going to call it one way, other crews are going to call it a different way. And that's the unfortunate part. That's why fans get so upset with how inconsistent the calls are, the penalties. With this review system that they're looking at, I hope it helps the referee get it right. But at the same time, I don't want it to negatively impact to where now we're getting even more penalties. We're slowing down the game. It's not going to be as fun to watch because it's like it turns into the NBA where you're getting a penalty called like every drive or every series. Like that's the one thing that I'm worried about.
Mhm.
Other than that, another one is virtual measurement, Jim. Have you heard about this? Where
Virtual measurement. No.
yeah, where they're going to be looking at getting rid of the pylons. They're going to have them as backups, but the measurement
What?
for first downs and everything is going to be done by a computer.
Oh gosh.
It's going to be have 10 yard, you're going to have those 10 yards for the first down, and the football is going to have sensors in it to where it can read the football like where it is and everything. So wherever it gets placed on the field, it's going to calculate it and say first down, no first down, just shy. Like it's going to give up to date analysis and being able to dictate first downs.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's tough again. That I guess you're reliant
Well, think
on
about it.
technology, but maybe that's more accurate than well, it's
Yeah,
gotta be
it's a
though.
more
It's gotta
accurate.
be a lot more accurate because again, how many times it happened even in what was it? Uh, it was one of was it the divisional championship? I can't remember. Maybe it was the Lions game. It was the Lions game, I think, in the playoffs this year, wasn't it? When there was a first down or something like that, and one of the line judges were like walking up here, and it was clearly where his foot was marked. It was a first down, and then the other guy is behind the line, and then they're all confused, and then they move the
Yeah,
ball back, and then they're like, all right, well,
yeah.
let's measurement again. We do a measurement. So they do the measurement again, and it was short, but like, why was the other guy
Where
so
the
far off? And it was all confusing, and you're like, the spot was off.
where the ball was initially set was a first down,
Hmm.
and they moved it back.
Hmm.
And I want to say it was one of the Chiefs games.
Maybe it was that one. I can't remember though, but yeah,
Um,
maybe that's what it
but
was.
but
The Chiefs and
it's
Bills game, maybe.
but here's the thing. But okay, it's where the ball's placed. I wonder this virtual measurement if it's
Hmm.
going to track the ball during the play because if it's tracking it the whole time, there's going to be no second guessing on whether it was a first down or not because if the football touches that first down margin, it's
Hmm.
first down. Good to go.
Hmm.
I hope that happens. Maybe this is the type of thing where it's a stepping stone. Like they're going to do a virtual measurement and then as they kind of get this thing rolling, then maybe they can evolve it into like real time placing of the ball. Like, okay,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
definitely at the 20. But the
Hmm.
referee says it was just shy. No, no, no. This computer here tells me otherwise. Like it was right there at the 20. Nice try though. You know what I mean? So that's what I hope for this. If this is kind of where they're headed or maybe even going, I would be okay with that because we've seen a lot of times where human error gets involved. Just like you mentioned, you got one sideline judge saying it was a first down, the other one saying no, it's just short. you got the umpire coming up going like, "What do you got? How are you guys so much different than each other?" Well, I saw
Mhm.
the ball here, and then, but I think it's a little shorter. It, human error happens, so um, maybe this could be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I didn't know about that one. That's pretty wild there.
Another one is playoff seeding. They're talking about for playoffs seeding teams based on record, no longer winning the divisions are going to be icing your way in. So we've seen this happen before where there's a winning team in the same division, but because they didn't win um, the division, they might have missed the playoffs because of other
Mhm.
teams having great, better seasons or whatnot. Um, because they won the divisions and they get
Yeah.
to move forward. So uh, with this scenario, it's going to be basically just going off your wins and losses head to head, kind of like fantasy football. When you get your playoff rankings and all that, you go head to head first. It's not like who won the division and then you get to move on or whatnot. It looks like they're looking at record based playoff seeding. So don't know how far that's going to get, but it's definitely interesting.
That might be interesting for seeding again. And if they try to make it that divisional winners don't make the playoffs, I think that would be not correct. You know what I mean? But if they want to go and rearrange seeding that way, I could maybe live with that. I mean, but that would be interesting to see what happens and how they um, plan that
Yeah,
all
so
out.
it would
Because
no
I know
longer
they've tried
be
to
if
get rid of it.
it would no longer be if you won the division you're in. If you're a 7 and
No,
9 team
I
and you
don't like
won your
that then.
if you're 7 and 9 team and you won your division, but there's no, you know, a 12 win team in another division, they're going to take that other team that has 12 wins.
I would just get rid of the divisions then, just make two separate conferences. What's the point of divisions then? Because again, within your
Because
division, you play every team twice, and that's the whole point, and
right,
that's why there's that, and that's why potentially your record could be lower. Now, if they
right.
mix it up so you're not playing every team, in that particular division twice, and you mix it up and make the schedule a little different, then that would make a little more sense. But that's why you've earned that. You've beaten those teams that are in that division. You deserve to make the playoffs.
Or you went 0 and 2 against all of them but won against everybody else and still won the division.
Mhm.
Like
No, I get it.
it's one of those things where like I believe listen, if you don't have a good season, you don't belong in the playoffs. You weren't one of the best teams to compete. And I we've seen it before where teams that have 500, you know, maybe even a losing record and they still won the division somehow. They end up making the playoffs and they get slaughtered in the first round. Like this kind of gives a different vibe on just because you're mediocre doesn't mean you make it in,
Hmm.
you know? I'm not against it, but I'm also not 100% for it. I'm kind of on the fence, but I
Hmm.
understand, the mindset or the thinking of why this could be maybe it could make playoffs better and more competitive, maybe. Um, but again, we won't know the answers unless they were to implement it for a season and try it out. Like
Hmm.
that's the thing, and I feel like bringing this to the table will be very hard to get the votes to move forward with it.
Yeah, I think so too. Mike Tackett's all about it. He says eliminate division winners. Top 16 teams are in. He's all about it. Uh, I am not. I just don't think that's the way to go. But who knows? We'll see. They're open to a lot of different things. Mike, he's got something to say here too. He goes, "I'm excited for flag football Olympic games. The U.S. will probably win dominantly,
Oh
but to
yeah,
see other NFL starters play for other countries is going to be wild. Kyler Murray could play for South Korea." Amon-Ra St. Brown and Aquemius St. Brown could play for Germany.
right.
Japan is always tough as nails in flag. Yeah, we've seen that definitely. And so is Mexico. So I'm really wanting to get the gang together and go to LA for the games in 2028. There you
Hell
go.
yeah, hell
Comment is
yeah.
so big, it's covering up my face. So, and that's our man Mike Tackett though, because he drops it all the time, man. He drops the knowledge, he drops the great questions and the tidbits. We love this guy. Hey, I'm down. 2028. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Get the game together, go to LA and watch the games, Joe. Why not?
Oh
I
yeah,
haven't
bro.
been to LA in a long time. A lot different now since last time I went
Yeah,
there.
it's really cool because they're even having tryouts, believe it or not, for the Olympics to make the
There you-
Olympic team.
yeah.
So, any pro or any flag player that's been doing this a while, in their prime, whatnot, that are former college athletes or
Yeah.
whatever,
There's your
just
shot
really
to
good
be an
at it.
Olympic champion.
You can literally go and try out. Like, obviously, it's not going to be. There's going to be a ton of people that apply
Yeah.
to do it, but they're going to have a whole system on cutting the talent down until they
Mhm.
get to that final product.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I urge anybody that has the capability to play at that level, go and apply. Like, try to become an Olympian. Like, that would be something special. Um, once in a lifetime type of opportunity.
Mhm. Now, one thing for me, I know that, and I don't know if it's up for contention this year on the rule changes. Um, but I know the Lions had brought up potentially the defensive holding and illegal contact. Right now, currently, you get an automatic first down after the penalty, but they're looking to change that, and make that more of a minor play, which I kind of agree with too as well. Because what's the difference? You got pass interference, which already gives you like a chunk of yards anyways, and that's like the major. Like you got your minors and your majors, but then defensive holding is technically a minor, but you get an automatic first down still, when it might have just been a little bit of a tug or a grab. And that has been one of those things to where, like you said, even Joe, to where you're kind of, it's ticky tacky. You're like, I don't know, was it though? He kind of tugged him, but it's whatever you think it might be. It's very gray.
Mm,
So for it to be an automatic first down, I think that one of those rules I think should be adjusted. I think out of any of them.
yeah, yeah.
Mike Tackett says, "Do
Uh,
you think Tom Brady
they're
will
looking
try
at
out for the flag
no,
game? He'll fly out for a flag? No,
no. You
no.
have to be mobile, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
have to be mobile. You
No, yeah. The
cannot play
flag is
flag.
a whole nother game, man. I can see Cam Newton
Um,
trying out.
right. Uh, Regular season overtime rules to be the same as the Super Bowl. They're looking at um making the regular season overtime rules like the Super Bowl, like we just kind of witnessed,
Yeah,
where both teams will get possession regardless of outcome. So even if the first team scores a touchdown, the other team will get a chance to
yeah.
still get
To
a
match
chance
it
to
at
tie
least.
it
Yeah, yeah.
or lose. So
Or lose. Yeah.
um
It's not just they
I
win to get the touchdowns over.
I'm for this kind of thing, I'm a little bit more traditional. Like, I'm like,
Hmm.
sudden death. We called it sudden death for that reason. Once you get to
Hmm.
overtime, I think the first team that scores, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown, that should be end the game. Like,
Hmm.
just get it over with. Be done with it.
Hmm.
Um, now they're looking to hand out extra chances and can you tie it, keep the overtime going? Like, no, just end the game.
Yeah, yeah. I know, because it gets crazy. Because I mean, we see things like, look at hockey. Sometimes goes to double overtime. Sometimes basketball goes to double overtime and things like that, because they get a
Yeah,
whole set amount to keep scoring, and then who knows, it might tie it up again. So,
right.
you know, uh, Mike Tackett says, "I hate illegal touching." Uh, and if you get pushed out of bounds and are able to fight your way back into the
Right.
field of play, you
Yes.
should be an eligible receiver. Yes.
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 Absolutely.
I
Yes.
agree.
I agree. I agree too as well. Bang.
Makes
It's the
sense.
rule. There you go. Court adjourned. Boom. Let's
We've
make it
approved
happen.
it.
We
We just
approve.
we
Yep.
it's
Seal of
it's already
approval.
been passed, everyone.
Yeah.
Uh,
There you go.
Apparently the Detroit Lions have a problem with the defensive holding and illegal contact penalties. They say
Right.
as it stands now that they are 5 yards and automatic first down
Right.
awarded to the offense, and
Right.
they want they I feel like they want uh and equality is how it's kind of that's what it's being listed as.
Mhm.
Uh, they want an equal penalty for the defense. They want it to be more reasonable.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, but that's why I just brought up the fact that, it's an automatic first down, I think is wrong. They should make it just, maybe a
listen,
5-yard penalty or whatever ends up being. Like, come on, something
defensive
equivalent
holding
of what it
should
is.
only be 5 yards, and that's it.
Yes, yeah. Yeah,
That's it.
that's it.
I, I I'll take it a step further. Pass interference should adopt the college rules. It should be a 15-yard penalty
Mhm,
and a first
mhm,
down.
mhm,
That's
mhm.
it. Not you throw a bomb up just to get a call 40 yards down the field and oh, we're going to get the ball at the 40 yards down the field and a first down. No,
Mhm,
15 and a
mhm.
first down. That's it. Cuz you see this happen all the time. Offense is just bombing it up to try to get the call towards the end of the half
Oh,
before
yeah.
the
Tom
game.
Brady was famous for that. I mean, the
Oh, yeah.
Patriots and moving the ball down. I mean,
Of
I would even
course. Of
question
course.
if he gets all those Super Bowls with not having that in his back pocket.
Yeah. And last but not least, the Packers have put this in, by the way. They want to get rid of the tush
The
push.
tush push.
They
Mhm.
want it gone. They're not the only ones too that
I
have
bet.
verbalized
Mhm.
um that to get
They're
to
they're they're
abolish the
concerned for it.
tush push and get rid of the play that the Eagles are so successful at doing.
But the
We've seen
Eagles are
other
getting
teams.
less successful though. It's people are starting to catch on a little bit. I had the
Eh,
stats a few weeks ago or even a
I don't
couple
know,
months ago
man.
when I did it.
There's the percentage is still high. It's upper
Right.
70s
Eh,
or greater.
but still, I mean, people are
That's
catching on. If
crazy.
you can but everybody else can try it, they just don't do it.
They try it and fail. They're not good at it.
There you go.
They're just not doing it
Too
the right
bad.
way, or they my thing too about the tush push is it is, in a sense, it's very close to unbeatable. It's very
Mhm.
close because all that they do is literally push their quarterback to slide over the top of the pile.
Over the top of the pile. Yeah,
There's
somebody
guys
driving
on the
behind him.
there's guys that
Mhm,
are on the bottom and he's being pushed and sliding over top.
mhm,
So how do you stop that?
mhm,
You 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 have to either somehow create a wall. I think teams should do this. Teams should try rugby rules. Teams should try to develop a scrum then,
mhm,
because that's basically what
mhm,
the Eagles are
mhm,
doing. They're
mhm,
developing a scrum, shoving the ball carrier forward over top of other guys.
mhm,
When the defense should mirror that same thing and do the same thing, but with a
mhm.
linebacker.
Yeah.
Where you're shoving the linebacker up the middle at the quarterback, stopping him from moving or sliding forward.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
we haven't seen that yet.
Right, but
I'm just
isn't
saying,
is there a rule? I mean, because I thought they made this, especially for field goals. Like you can't use another person's body on defense to propel off or to get off and like lift off to get yourself
for
up
field
for like
goals,
a block for field goals. But I'm just wondering if that counts on defense as well and why they
no,
haven't done anything like that.
no, there's
Because
guys all the
if
time
that even
that
is a
push.
rule, that should be the same thing for to get
It's
rid of
not
the tush push because you can't use another man's physical body as and move them along because it's a safety hazard.
Yeah, I mean, everything's a safety hazard.
Well,
Listen,
I know I get that too, but they
look at
tried to make that rule for especially on defense. Well, you can't do that because again, you're using another
on
person's
field
body and
goals
forcing
though.
them on there. So
On field
yeah, I
goals,
know,
you
and I
can
get
do
that.
that. You can do that on normal defense. There's all the time. There's linebackers that push their D tackles all the time. Like, my thing is it until no one's thinking outside the box. Like, that's the problem, is that everybody's trying to line up normally, like goal line formation,
Mhm.
jump over the top to try to take out Jalen Hurts and drag him back that way. But no one's thinking like, hey, why don't we do the same thing to them? If they're going to get in that type of formation, that tight formation, we all know they're going to do it. We do the same thing and shove our one of our guys right at the quarterback. Like, we've seen
Mhm.
plenty of times
I
where
think
the
if that
Eagles are,
happens though too, that they might end up just getting rid of it then.
they should, because it's
Mhm.
already causing injuries. Like,
Mhm,
that was the
mhm,
other thing, is they were like, "Oh, well, it's not causing injuries." No, it really has. Look at Chris Jones. Go ask him
mhm.
in the Super Bowl. He tried to stop that and got his neck all kinked and bent sideways. Like, and I'll tell you this right now, that is probably the number one. Well, it's one of the reasons why Jason Kels retired, because he
You
didn't want to
couldn't
go
you
through
don't do
another
that play
season of
anymore?
doing that. So if your center who was contemplating retirement, and that might have been the tipping point, like, dude, I don't want to do those anymore. Like, it's freaking brutal. I can't even hardly move for 3 days. Like, there maybe something has to be done with it, but I would like to see other defenses try to mirror and play it that way and see if that stops it, or at least drastically slows it down to where it might kind of even the playing field.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll see. Again, I mean, they have time to do final judgment on this and change it. We'll see what happens with that. Everybody knows our gripes and what we're sick and tired of seeing and stuff like that. We'll see if the NFL listens to us once and for all. But it probably won't, and they'll keep
Hopefully,
changing it
Roger
around. But
Goodell is sitting on his couch right now watching us
yeah,
and getting some real good intel on what to
Intel,
do, you know?
perhaps. Sometimes
Um,
it seems like they listen, but who knows?
yeah.
Um,
Listen, Blitz Nation, we really do appreciate you guys for tuning in and whatnot. Uh, do us a huge favor. Even if you're new to the show, or if you know someone that would be completely down with talking some NFL year round, head over to Grumblings Media's channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, share it to everyone that you know and love. And
mhm.
listen, we have exceeded expectations thus far. We are at 7.5 thousand subscribers right now and climbing. So become part of the Blitz Nation. Join us. You can also, um, you know, check out us on X. You know,
That's right.
at
Anywhere you get your
FB underscore
podcast with the
no.
Blindside Blitz on Grumblings Media, we are on Apple, we are on Pandora, we're on Spotify, everywhere you get your podcast. So Mike Tackett, I know he's an old school know-it-all from our other show, Football on the No Show. We appreciate you joining in with us.
Thanks,
I
brother.
know he'll probably share the video too and get some more people on board. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you all, you guys listening. And if you guys do know us from the other show too, this is another chance where you can get to see us, and we have a lot more guests and things like this on this channel too as well. So there's a lot of different opportunities where we get some real insiders to visit with us. So Joe, you can attest to this. Just a few weeks ago, we
Yeah.
had Roderick David, who is a former NFL scout for the Atlanta Falcons, who was involved with scouting for them, and and the whole time with Matt Ryan in those days and stuff like that. And he's also helped guys get contracts too. And currently he's helping young talent for the draft and helping answer those interview questions and things like that, getting them ready and prepared. So guys like that. So definitely come and join in
Yeah.
with us here at Grumblings Media. We definitely appreciate you guys out there.
Roderick David is one of the best friends of this show, and we can't wait to do more content with him as we approach the draft. Just letting you guys know, make sure you tune in here, because we're going to have Roderick David on. We're going to talk draft prospects. We're going to talk about where we think they might go. And if we're lucky enough, we're going to have Roderick David in the studio. We're going to be doing a mock draft really soon. So tune in.
All right. See you guys in the next one.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.